Looking at my chapter's membership, we have one member that was born in Venezuela, and another member who's born in Canada, but she's of Pakistani descent. So it really makes no sense that accusation. Because,
but let's say, just for the purposes, keep this in the broadest sense, because the term white has such a bizarre, amorphous definition anyway. For instance, white. If you talk about white Europeans, are you talking about Norwegians? Or are you talking about Italians? Are you talking about Greeks? Or are you talking about Spaniards? Or are you talking about Swedes? There's a tremendous amount of diversity of for instance, even, Eastern Europeans, if you look at the Estonians and the Finns, they're a different race, really, than the Norwegians and the Swedes and the Finns and the Danes. They're not Scandinavians. So, but just in purposes of just pure numbers, let's, for argument's sake, say that Western Civ, as we define it, is a quote-unquote white culture, in the sense that Western law, Western art, Western language all comes from areas where there were lots of white people living. So what? What difference does it make? The bottom line is it's inclusive. It doesn't exclude people or preclude people of other races from becoming a member of society.
I'd agree with you to the point that, yes, Western civilization in America was established by, British settlers, and yes, they classify as white people. But with regards to that, I mean, the way I think it applies today is that to become part of Western civilization, this is the way Tancredo put it at CPAC. All the immigrants from, Italy, Eastern Europe, wherever they came from, came wanting to adopt an Anglo-Saxon culture. That meant they would leave behind their Italian language, their German language, Yiddish, whatever it was, and they'd learn English, and they might retain a few of their cultural habits, and they might take pride in, I'm a German American, I'm an Italian American. But for the most part, and especially in public life, they wanted to adopt an Anglo-Saxon sort of culture.
Well, that's exactly right. When you came here, whether you came here from Italy or from Russia, you accepted George Washington as the father of your adopted country, and and that still happens. But it doesn't happen as much. Of course, there are many native-born Americans there's a disconnect between the founders and the cultural traditions of America. It's just become essentially this idea that we're all citizens of the world. It's like we've embraced John Lennon's lyric to imagine and tried to make that public policy or societal mindset. And for many, that's true. And I think it's a great loss, because I think that those cultural differences are significant, and they're the glue that binds one generation to the next. They're the connective tissue that makes a country a home, really. I mean, it's up to Mexico to teach the next generation of Mexican citizens Mexican culture, art, history, language, law, tradition, and that's fine for Mexico. But America should be teaching what it is to be an American to the next generation of Americans. Otherwise, we just become this sort of generic, sort of the IKEA of countries. It's just all sort of interchangeable parts.
Right. At the protest, one girl was holding up a sign that said "Youth for Global Civilization," and I understand globalization as an economic idea, but
and look at how well that's worked, by the way.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
That's where all the jobs went in globalization. Well, listen, if folks want to learn more about your organization, how do they do so?
We have a website at www.westernyouth.org. You can also find us on Facebook by typing in Youth for Western Civilization. And,
well, listen, keep fighting a good fight, because, I know that it's always going to be controversial, take a lot of heat, but as James Schlesinger said memorably, we got plenty of pluribus, but very little unum. And that's the problem, that diversity is one thing, but this multiculturalism you end up like Canada. You end up, or worse, like the Tower of Babel. And instead of being a uniting force, it becomes a very divisive force. So it's worth taking the argument, because if we're not willing to defend our own culture, then we're done. I mean, we're done. And when I say defend, that doesn't mean exclude. But we can't go around and apologizing for history and apologizing for Columbus because we're applying 21st century sensibilities to somebody who lived in the 15th century. That's madness.
Right.
All right. Well, listen, good luck to you, Trevor. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay. Trevor Williams, president of the Vanderbilt chapter of Youth for Western Civ. And, we wish him well. All right, let's see. We wish you well if you're on the 5 northbound at the 22 with Captain Jorge Areen.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there, Doug. The San